My brother has an unaliving list for my mom, stepdad, stepmom, and me. I told my mom I wouldn't forgive him for the list and she is now mad at me. My mom divorced my stepfather 5 years ago and moved in with her partner, Jessica. I was in college at the time, but my little brother 17 also moved with my mother as my stepfather was found to be abusive and a danger to live with. The divorce, I think, amplified a lot of the issues that my brother had, and he began acting out in school. During this time, it was found out that he had a pretty bad porn addiction and was chatting with grown men online and trying to steal credit cards and money to buy access to different chatting sites. We also found that he was cutting himself and stealing Jessica's medication, like Xanax and promethazine. My mom, stepfather, and Jessica all came together to get him to help, enrolling him in therapy, taking him to different specialists, and eventually taking him to a mental hospital. For about 3 months we were all on rotation visiting him, trying to provide him comfort while he was away. Things were fine for a while when he returned, but then the issues started returning. First, he was lying to his friends about us to the extent that his friends' parents were contacting our mom and stepdad about the alleged abuse. Then he lied to a doctor about it and called CPS. The case was dropped because he claimed abuse to the extent that he was being beaten every day and that he was unfed and without a place to sleep. Imagine the caseworker's face when she walked into his fully furnished room with a mini fridge, expensive gaming systems, brand name clothes and saw a fully stocked kitchen. It also didn't help that every person interviewed had no clue about the specified events he claimed to have happened. After the case was dropped, he upped the ante. He started trying to pit my mom and stepdad against each other. He stopped visiting him and claimed it was because my mom wouldn't let him. And then I would tell my mom that my stepdad was badmouthing her and not talking to my brother because he was gay. He even lied to my mom and said that our great aunt and uncle threatened to beat him for being gay. None of this was true, and he eventually confessed to it. Then he tried to cause division between mom and Jessica, but by then, the trust they had in him was gone, so nothing too bad happened. When that didn't work, he tried to poison Jessica by crushing pills into her food. It didn't work out because she noticed that her food had bubbles in it, and it tasted soapy. She spits it out, and he eventually confesses. At this point, my mom was at her wit's end and began punishing him differently. She started taking away leisure and extracurricular activities. So, no more Xbox or Nintendo Switch. There were no more fun weekend trips, and he just went to school and back home. Things continued largely the same, with him doing something and then receiving some kind of punishment. He would be good for a little bit and get off punishment only to do something to be on punishment again. All things came to a head last year when he came home from school and my mom got a phone call from his principal stating that a student had reported him for stalking and harassment. Apparently, he liked a boy who only wanted to be with him as an experiment. Then when they broke up, my brother couldn't handle it and was always trying to find his school and hound his friend about getting in contact with the boy. The principal also said my brother had stolen a hoodie from the student, so my mom went through his room while he was with his dad to find the hoodie. When looking for the hoodie, she found a notebook that had alarming drawings on the cover. She went through it and found detailed plans on how and when to unalive my mom, stepdad, Jessica, me, and the boy from school. This caused a lot of panic for us, as on top of mom finding that notebook, he ran away from his dad's house and was found the following day with a friend's parents. He was taken to the hospital to make sure he was okay, and it was determined that he would go to another mental facility. He stayed there for about a month and came out unrepentant and uncaring about all the stress his actions had caused. When he came out, the decision was made for him to stay with his dad primarily instead of our mom. He's been there since January 2024. The situation, since he's been with his dad, my mom has begun doing everything she can to make him like her again. She vacillates between buying his love and always visiting him when she's off of work. Unfortunately, he seems to want nothing to do with mom, Jessica, and me. Christmas was a few days ago, and mom offered for him to visit for Christmas, and that turned into him visiting from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Christmas Day, which for me was a lot. My mom and Jessica seemed to enjoy having him around, but I couldn't help but feel anxious. Our dog was cautious around him and stayed by me the entire day. I felt on edge since the attempted poisoning incident with Jessica, and finding his list has only made me feel worse. At 17, he looks like a linebacker, and my mother just invited him to a house full of women who cannot defend themselves. He always has this look in his eye when he looks at me or mom and Jessica, but they don't seem to see it. When we talked about his visit, I just asked not to be left alone with him, and everyone agreed to it. Then, when he arrives, my mom and Jessica immediately start going upstairs for long periods, leaving me to cook downstairs with him in the living room. He was largely silent but kept smirking at me the entire time and eventually began to sit at the kitchen island, just watching me. We ate dinner, and he largely kept silent, just staring at me or glancing at Jessica. Then he just abruptly says, "I'm pansexual now, and I'm dating a girl now." They started talking to him about the change, but he just kept staring. I eventually just went back to my room upstairs with my dog and stayed until his dad came to get him. Yesterday, mom, Jessica, and I talked about the visit, and they spent a good 20 minutes talking about how happy they were to see him and how he's grown. They realized that I was silent and asked my opinion. I said it was okay. They kept pressing until I said everything above. My mom got upset with me, saying that I needed to keep an open mind and that I was overreacting. She told me I needed to be a good big sister and extend the olive branch. I told her I would do no such thing and that I have every right to feel uneasy and anxious about having someone in a place I consider safe come in after talking and admitting to wanting to unalive me and even attempt that with Jessica. I can't forgive him for that even if nothing came about it because he never apologized and there hasn't been a behavior change. I told her she was a fool not to see the signs and that while she may be happy to play family, she can't forget that her name was on the list. Since this conversation, My mom has been pretty distant and has actually been spending even more time with him. Jessica and I spoke, and she agreed with me but also said that I need to consider that he is also her child, and he needs his parents. Update. Vailp. It's been 2 weeks since I left back to campus and it's come with some good and bad things. Thanks to many of the people who commented and DM'd me, I was able to come up with a game plan to 1. Talk with my mom and Jessica about my brother, and 2. Find resources to stay away if things go south permanently. About a week and a half ago, I sat down with mom and Jessica to fully explain everything I was feeling. I told her about how I felt that she still saw him as her baby and wasn't taking him seriously, and that now since he's decided to keep living with his dad, she wants to do everything she criticized his dad for doing. I told her that I thought her reaction to my brother put us in jeopardy and that her actions likely had much to do with her unresolved trauma with her own parents and her resentment for how her mother treated her in comparison to her brother. To be fair, she accepted the claim. She fully owned up to it. She said that over time she recognized the signs but didn't know how to stop because she didn't want to lose him forever. She said she felt that if she didn't do it this way, she would become everything her mom said she would be as a parent. Jessica spoke after and apologized for her initial reaction to my feelings and for not taking my concerns seriously when I first brought them up. She said for her part, she just didn't see him as a threat and reasoned that if push came to shove, she would defend the household and herself by whatever means necessary if he attempted anything, so she just assumed I felt the same way. With these new revelations, I thought we would be on our way to finding a better way to manage my brother's relationship, but then my mother stopped all of that. She didn't want to change. She reasons that she's close to a breakthrough with him and she doesn't want to change things if she feels that would hinder any progress. She asked me to just work on my emotions and promised that once he was cured we could go from there. At that point, Jessica got angry with mom on my behalf. She laid into my mom, saying that she had 2 children, not just once, and it is incredibly selfish and inconsiderate to expect one child to make do just so she could maintain a failing relationship with her other child, who, at the end of the day, caused the consequences he's in now. She said, and I quote, "You keep babying that boy and then wonder why he has no respect for you," which led to my mom crying and leaving to go stay with, surprise, her ex-husband and my brother. My mom left her disabled wife to go stay with her ex-husband and brother in the house they used to share. Jessica is understandably upset, as they have been having problems for a while now, and this might just be the nail in the coffin. Since she left, she hasn't answered anyone's calls, neither has my brother or stepdad. I stayed with Jessica until the last day before classes. During that period, I think Jessica and I bonded even further. We already got along pretty well, but I think I understood what having someone have your back for the first time was like. Even while she was hurting, she kept checking in with me to ensure I was handling everything okay and that I had everything prepared for the semester. I made sure to spend as much time as possible since she doesn't have a lot of family around. We've even been playing on repeat a certain rapper playing at the Super Bowl this year. Before I left, she gave me some paperwork. She said that this was supposed to be a graduation present for me, but in light of recent events, she didn't know what would happen and asked to adopt me. I can't begin to explain the emotions that came over me. My own father didn't want me and my stepdad said I'd change my name when I get married anyway. What's the point? So the fact that this woman, even with all the poop that has happened over the last few years, she chose me. Needless to say, I said yes and we both bawled like babies and watched The Wiz back to back. Since I've been on campus, my mom has only sent one message saying she needs time and space. I didn't respond, just muted her notification. While on campus, I found some organizations that work within my career field that also offer internships that come with stipends and full-time work contracts upon successful completion of the program. My case looks like it will be wrapping up soon, letting me start working again so I can build back up my savings. Other than that, I guess I'm good.